Welcome to Pillowtime Lore. This is your soft corner of the night, a place where stories live like warm embers, glowing in the dark. Before we begin, take a moment to slow down. Let your body melt into whatever holds you, your bed, your chair, or that cozy blanket wrapped around your shoulders. Feel how the day begins to drift away, piece by piece, as if it never belonged to you in the first place. Outside your window, the night is calm. The world has quieted down, and the sky has dressed itself in stars. Imagine gentle snowflakes floating in the distance, each one falling without hurry, without noise, just a silent rhythm to remind you that everything is allowed to slow. And here, in this moment, so are you. The glow of a fireplace flickers softly nearby, its warmth wrapping around you like an embrace. The golden light catches on shelves of books, on soft pillows, on every little detail that makes a room feel like home. You breathe in, and the air feels gentle, safe, peaceful. You breathe out, and the weight of today slips further and further away. There is nothing you need to do right now. No expectation, no demand, only rest, only stillness, only the quiet anticipation of a story that will soon take you by the hand and guide you through places that exist just beyond the edge of dreams. So, let the rhythm of your breath carry you deeper into calm. With every inhale, feel your body fill with ease. With every exhale, imagine the clutter of the day dissolving like mist. You are free now, free to wander through the world of tales where time is slower, and every word is a lantern leading you further into comfort. This is Pillowtime Lore, and tonight, a story awaits you. Emma's car wound slowly along the narrow cliffside road, the ocean on one side roaring and the wind cutting sharply against her face. She could see the mansion looming ahead, large and imposing, perched on the edge of the cliff like a silent sentinel, its stone walls pale under the gray sky, and the windows reflecting the restless sea. She felt a strange mix of excitement and unease as she parked and stepped out, the gravel crunching under her shoes, the air thick with salt and tension, as if the house itself was waiting to judge her arrival. The front door opened before she could knock, and a tall woman with an austere expression greeted her, introducing herself as Claire's sister, her handshake firm but cold, the kind of politeness that felt like a warning. Behind her, other family members lingered in the shadows, glancing at Emma with eyes that studied and measured, and she immediately sensed that this visit would be far from simple. The house was elegant, every room immaculately kept, furniture polished, books neatly arranged on dark shelves. Yet the walls seemed heavy, the silence between them filled with unspoken words and secrets. And Emma felt a chill crawl up her spine. After settling into her room, she was handed stacks of notes, folders, and the incomplete manuscript. The pages crisp but full of scribbled corrections and fragmented thoughts. She opened the first chapter and began reading, the words pulling her in. The voice of Claire, so vivid yet strangely dissonant from the public image she had known. There were contradictions, hidden hints, and moments that suggested a life far more complicated than anyone realized. As Emma turned each page, she felt the weight of the house pressing in, the air thick with anticipation, the sense that everyone here was guarding something. And she knew this project would be far more dangerous and fascinating than she could have imagined. Emma spent the morning in Claire's study, sunlight filtering through tall windows and dust motes dancing in the air. She carefully spread out the notes, letters, and drafts across the polished oak table, her eyes scanning each line, trying to trace the story Claire had left behind. As she read, a strange feeling settled in her chest. The manuscript painted a version of events that didn't match what she knew from news articles and public records. A family dispute described in tender words in one chapter had been a heated scandal, according to reports. An old friend's betrayal was twisted differently in the manuscript, and Emma's curiosity deepened into suspicion. She sensed that someone had tampered with the notes, changing details to hide truths as the day passed. Small but unsettling incidents began to occur. She would return to the same notebook and find pages missing. Letters slipped out of envelopes, and documents that were carefully placed would vanish without explanation. She even found a diary entry that had been turned around. As if someone didn't want her to read it, the house seemed to watch her every move, and Emma realized that she was not only deciphering Claire's story, but also navigating a web of hidden manipulation. Each question she asked the family was met with polite smiles and vague responses, deflections that left her frustrated. The tension thickened. The air seemed heavier, as if the walls themselves were aware of the secrets she was uncovering. By evening, Emma understood that finishing the book would not simply be a task of writing or editing. It was an exercise in careful observation and cautious interpretation. Every fact would need verification, every story thread, and she had to balance the truth against the shadows of deception that lingered in the mansion. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her, and she knew that the path ahead would be far more complicated than she had imagined, and that the deeper she went, the more dangerous her task might become. Emma's morning began quietly, the mansion still wrapped in a heavy fog. She was arranging folders and trying to make sense of the contradictions she had discovered when a folded piece of paper slipped under her door. Picking it up, she unfolded the note and read the typed words that made her stomach tighten. "Stop reading the manuscript. Some truths are dangerous." At first she laughed nervously, assuming it was a prank from the staff or a family member testing her, but the calm feeling soon faded. A cold shiver ran down her spine as she realized someone knew exactly what she was doing. Over the next few hours, the tension in the house grew. Staff members avoided her gaze. Some gave her small, contradictory answers when she casually asked about Claire's accident or past events. Emma noticed how quickly they disappeared when she approached and how their stories never lined up. She began observing subtle patterns, footsteps outside her room at odd hours, distant voices that ceased when she moved closer, and glimpses of someone watching from behind curtains. Her sense of unease deepened. The mansion suddenly felt less like a home and more like a carefully constructed trap. While reading further, Emma discovered diary passages in Claire's notes written in a peculiar code, letters replaced with symbols, words hidden within strange patterns. She recognized it as Claire's method of concealing sensitive thoughts. Deciphering a few lines revealed mentions of threats, manipulations, and hidden family conflicts. Emma realized she was walking a delicate line, uncovering truths that certain people clearly wanted buried. The weight of danger pressed down on her, and the mansion's elegant walls now seemed to close in, reminding her that the story she was pursuing might have consequences far beyond her imagination. Emma spent the morning poring over the manuscript, her eyes scanning each line with growing unease. She began to notice that certain events mirrored public scandals involving Claire's family. The names and minor details changed, yet the essence of the incidents was unmistakable. A financial dispute, a betrayal between friends, an accident that was widely reported as fate, all woven into Claire's words with subtle shifts that hinted at deeper truths. The more she read, the more she realized that Claire had deliberately hidden clues within the narrative, each paragraph a puzzle piece pointing toward something someone wanted to remain secret. Curious and cautious, Emma began approaching family members under the guise of casual conversation, asking about past events and Claire's life. Their responses were careful, polite, yet evasive. Each answer seemed to raise new questions rather than provide clarity. A simple question about an old business deal would be met with deflections or vague reassurances. Inquiries about the accident brought nervous glances and abrupt changes of subject. The contradictions gnawed at her, and she felt the puzzle pieces beginning to take shape, suggesting that Claire's accident might not have been entirely accidental, that there were hands guiding events behind the scenes. By afternoon, Emma felt the weight of her position pressing down on her. She realized that finishing the manuscript was no longer just a professional task. It had become a moral and personal challenge. The story she was uncovering implicated people she was living under the same roof with. The tension in the mansion was palpable. She questioned whether she could continue without putting herself at risk. Yet curiosity and the need for truth pulled her forward. Each revelation made her heart beat faster, and she understood that the line between observer and participant was blurring, and that her safety and conscience were now intertwined with the secrets buried within Claire's words. Emma's curiosity led her to explore a small, ornate desk in Claire's study that she hadn't noticed before. The drawer was locked, but a loose key hidden behind a row of books allowed her to open it quietly. Inside, she found neatly stacked letters, old photographs, and a collection of voice recordings. Each item seemed to whisper secrets long buried. As she went through them, Emma realized Claire had documented events that no one else had seen, incidents that had never been reported, moments that revealed manipulation, lies, and betrayals within the family. The more she uncovered, the more the mansion felt alive, with unspoken tension. One letter caught Emma's attention, the handwriting urgent and precise. It hinted that a family member had committed a serious wrongdoing, and that Claire had been coerced or manipulated into covering it up. The implications were chilling. The person responsible for the deception could be living under the same roof as her. Emma's mind raced as she debated whether to confront them directly or quietly continue piecing the story together. The moral weight of her choices pressed down on her. She realized the manuscript had become more than a book. It was evidence, a map to hidden truths that could ruin lives. As the day turned into evening, Emma sensed that her movements were being watched. Subtle cues, like staff lingering near doors, faint footsteps following her, and glances from family members who suddenly appeared when she entered rooms. The tension in the house escalated. It was clear that someone wanted her to stop. Her every choice felt like stepping on a tightrope, balancing between uncovering the truth and protecting herself. The weight of the hidden correspondence settled on her shoulders, and she knew that from this point onward, nothing in the mansion would feel safe or ordinary. Emma spent the morning reading deeper into the manuscript, her eyes scanning the carefully written words. She noticed passages that made her question everything she had assumed about Claire. Some sections suggested that Claire had been involved in morally ambiguous actions, helping certain people cover mistakes or manipulating events herself. It was unclear whether she was protecting someone she cared for or orchestrating deceptions for her own reasons. The uncertainty gnawed at Emma, each revelation adding weight to the responsibility she carried in finishing the manuscript. Determined to verify details, Emma reached out to former associates of Claire, arranging discreet conversations that seemed casual but were filled with tension. Each person she spoke to offered accounts that differed sharply from what they said publicly. A charitable act in one interview became a calculated manipulation in another. A heated argument was remembered differently depending on the storyteller. Emma realized that the truth was layered, hidden beneath memory, bias, and fear. The more she uncovered, the more she understood that Claire's life was far more complicated than she had imagined. By evening, Emma felt the moral and personal weight of her task pressing on her. Finishing the manuscript was no longer just a creative project. It had become a delicate negotiation between honesty and the potential fallout of revealing too much. She had to decide which details to include, which to interpret carefully, and which to leave ambiguous. Every choice carried consequences for both herself and the family. The tension in the mansion seemed to thicken around her, and she knew that moving forward would require courage, caution, and a clear sense of the ethical path, balancing the story's truth against the risks of exposing it. Emma knew that subtlety was her only weapon. She began asking pointed questions, while keeping her tone casual, observing the family's reactions like a hawk. she noticed a slight twitch in one relative's face, a momentary hesitation before answering. It made her suspicion grow. The answers became shorter, more defensive, and sometimes outright evasive. Each word they chose seemed calculated to reveal nothing and intimidate her without direct confrontation. Emma felt the weight of the house pressing on her. The polished walls now felt like a stage for hidden battles. While exploring the study for overlooked clues, Emma noticed small, unusual objects tucked behind books and near corners. After closer inspection, she realized they were surveillance devices, discreet cameras and microphones hidden in plain sight. It became clear that her every movement and conversation had been monitored since her arrival. The realization sent a chill through her. She understood that she was being watched, not just for curiosity, but for control. And the family's polite smiles were carefully constructed masks to manipulate her, determined to protect herself while uncovering the truth. Emma examined the manuscript side by side with the original letters and recordings she had found. She discovered deliberate alterations, sections rewritten to hide inconvenient truths, names changed, events omitted or twisted. Her heart raced as she began planning how to reveal what she knew without putting herself in danger. She mapped each risk, calculated each step, balancing her moral responsibility to tell the story against her own survival. The mansion seemed to tighten around her like a trap, and she realized that her next moves would decide not only the manuscript's future, but her own safety within these walls. Emma spent hours searching the study, examining every drawer, every shelf, and finally discovered a small, hidden safe tucked behind a false panel. The combination had been hinted at in a series of cryptic notes she had pieced together over the past days. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside lay Claire's original, unaltered manuscript. The pages carefully stacked and unmarked, the handwriting precise, urgent, and filled with a clarity that was missing from the edited version. As she began reading, a shocking secret emerged. Claire had planned to expose a serious crime involving her family, something that could ruin reputations and lives, but she had feared for her safety. The incomplete manuscript was a deliberate puzzle, each fragment chosen to protect both the truth and herself. As Emma worked through the pages, she began piecing together the real story, the motivations behind the hidden actions, the manipulations that had shaped events, and the chain of decisions that had led to Claire's accident. Each revelation deepened her understanding and her unease. The mansion that had once seemed elegant now felt like a cage. Every hallway and room a reminder of the secrets concealed within its walls. She realized the gravity of her discovery. The truth she held could destroy the family, but if she remained silent, her professional integrity and personal conscience would be compromised. By evening, Emma sat surrounded by manuscripts, letters, and notes, the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. She knew that she had reached a point of no return. The decision she made next would define not only the book, but her own life. The tension in the house was suffocating. She understood that revealing the truth required careful strategy, courage, and precise timing. Yet the moral imperative to honor Claire's intention tugged at her relentlessly, and she felt the burden of truth settle heavily on her shoulders. Emma sat in Claire's study late into the night. The unaltered manuscript spread before her, each page filled with truths that demanded attention. She felt the weight of a moral dilemma pressing down on her. To finish the book honestly meant risking immense consequences for herself and for the family. To alter it would compromise her integrity. Each choice seemed impossible. The walls of the mansion felt closer, the air heavy with anticipation and threats. She could almost feel the eyes of the household on her, waiting for a misstep the following morning. Subtle signs made it clear the family had discovered her knowledge of the original manuscript. Casual remarks carried hidden warnings, glances lingered a moment too long, and the staff's usual polite demeanor became edged with tension. Emma sensed that she was being tested. Every movement she made, watched, and measured. The psychological pressure grew, making her acutely aware that someone wanted the manuscript destroyed before it could see the light of day. Her responsibility as a writer now intertwined with her personal safety. Emma weighed each factor carefully, reflecting on the ethical responsibility of telling the story as it truly was. She considered the potential fallout, the lives that could be affected, and the importance of honoring Claire's intentions. She understood that the decision she made next would define her career, her conscience, and perhaps even her freedom. The tension was suffocating, each passing moment adding weight to the choice. She realized that courage, careful planning, and clarity of purpose were her only allies, and that once she acted, there would be no turning back. Emma took a deep breath as she entered the drawing room. The manuscript clutched tightly in her hands, the atmosphere thick with tension. She knew this confrontation would determine not only the fate of the book, but the safety of herself and the truth she carried. The family member she suspected most stood near the fireplace, their expression carefully neutral, but Emma could see the flicker of unease behind their eyes. She began speaking calmly, yet firmly, outlining the evidence she had gathered and the inconsistencies she had uncovered, watching every micro-expression for a hint of confession or denial. The conversation unfolded slowly, like a careful dance. The family member shifted between deflection, anger, and reluctant admissions, layer by layer. The truth about Claire's accident and the hidden crimes came into focus, morally gray, human, and shocking in its depth. Emma realized that what had seemed like simple wrongdoings were entwined with fear, loyalty, and survival. The mansion's walls, once imposing, now felt like witnesses to the unraveling of secrets that had been buried for years. Each revelation increased the weight she carried. The decision she faced more urgent and unavoidable. When the negotiation ended, Emma left the room with the manuscript still in her possession, the house silent behind her. She stepped outside into the cool air, aware of how profoundly the experience had changed her. The immediate danger had passed, yet the moral and psychological burden of the secrets she uncovered lingered. She knew she would carry the echoes of Claire's life and choices for a long time, and as she looked back at the mansion silhouetted against the evening sky, she understood that some truths were impossible to forget, leaving her to reflect on the fragile balance between personal safety and professional integrity.